Hello everyone, welcome to my channel Online Biology Tutorials. We will be studying the biomolecule carbohydrates in this video. So stay connected till end. Every part important to carbohydrates will be covered in this video only. Now to ace our study, we generally divide the carbohydrates into three parts. Okay, so the first, they are known as monosaccharides. Second one are known as disaccharides. And last one, they are known as polysaccharides. This is the broad classification that we do to have easy study. Carbohydrates are generally the hydrates of carbon. They possess carbon in their structure, hydrogen in their structure, and oxygen too in their structure. Okay, monosaccharides are the simplest carbohydrates that cannot be broken further. In exams, if a question comes specifically related to the carbohydrates and they ask about monosaccharides, then you will give the examples of glucose, fructose, and galactose in this category. Monosaccharides, they have the general formula of CN, H2N and ON. Here in case of glucose, fructose and galactose, value of N is 6. That means their chemical formula becomes C6H12O6. That means glucose, fructose and galactose, they will be represented with C6H12O6. Glucose, you know, this is the most simplest sugar, and in our body, whatever we eat through our mouth, finally it gets broken to glucose, and our respiration process, it starts with glucose only. Another thing which you must know here is fructose is also known as fruit sugar. Fine. So these three examples you have to learn in the case of monosaccharides, glucose, fructose and galactose. Disaccharides contain 2 units of monosaccharides. So 2 units of monosaccharides, they will be added upon to get disaccharides. There are 3 disaccharides which are very important and you must learn. Their names are maltose, sucrose and lactose. Maltose is formed by the combination of glucose with glucose. As I said in the beginning, 2 monosaccharide units, they will be attaching together to form the disaccharide. So here glucose unites with glucose to form the maltose. Sucrose is formed by the addition of glucose with fructose. Lactose is formed by the addition of glucose with galactose. Okay, these subunits are to be learned. They are very important from the point of view of competition and for solving the MCQ questions. Sucrose is also known as the cane sugar. This is the common sugar which we eat at our home, and lactose is present in the milk. That's why it is known as milk sugar. So the common names that I have told, like fruit sugar for fructose, cane sugar for sucrose, milk sugar for lactose, they are also required to be learned. Polysaccharides are the ones that contain numerous units of monosaccharides. Infinite units are there. Example of polysaccharides are starch, cellulose, glycogen. Now if in the exam you get a question, give the example of plant polysaccharide. You will give the example of starch or cellulose. If question comes, give the example of animal polysaccharide, then you will give the example of glycogen. Okay, so these above two, they are the example of plant polysaccharides, and the bottom one is an example of animal polysaccharide. I hope this much is clear. Now we will understand how basically starch is formed and how is it different to cellulose. Why starch gives positive test with the iodine, because all this is the part of this chapter only. Now whenever glucose unit, it combines with another glucose unit, the bond that is formed, it is known as glycosidic bond, or glycosidic linkage word is also being used. Okay, so one sugar will combine with another, then a bond will be there which is known as glycosidic bond. Now glucose exhibits two anomers. Now these anomers are actually the stereoisomers that differ only in one position. Another important thing before I proceed, you must know that glucose has a functional group, and that is aldehyde. Fructose also has a functional group, and that is known as ketone. Okay. Now the two anomers that glucose shows are alpha glucose and beta glucose. This point about anomers is not given in NCERT, but every year question is being asked which bond is present in starch, which bond is present in cellulose. So to answer such type of questions, we must know alpha and beta glucose. Now glucose exhibits, as I said, two anomers, one is alpha and another is beta. So let's see how do they differ. This is the structure of alpha glucose, which I am making right now. And the position, this one is C1, C2, C3, C4, C5, and this is our C6. Important point to be noticed is the C1 position. Okay, so this is our alpha glucose. Let's make beta glucose now. Everything will be same except the C1. Hydroxyl group will be present above and H will be present down. Rest everything is same and easy to remember too. Okay, so you can also practice simultaneously by looking at my screen. In beta glucose, the hydroxyl group is present on the above side. Okay, this is important to answer the questions related to starch and cellulose. Okay, now we will see actually how starch is formed. So starch is formed because of two subunits. One is known as amylose and another is known as amylopectin. PECTIN. If I want to show a diagram, a rough diagram, then starch is generally represented to like this. Okay, so branching, basically it is because of amylopectin, and the linear structure is due to amylose. Okay, so we will see which type of glycosidic bond is present in amylose and which type of glycosidic bond is present in amylopectin. So let's make 2-alpha glucose, because amylose is a polymer of alpha glucose. So we will make alpha glucose. I'm not showing the other atoms, I'm just showing you the C1 position of this alpha glucose. Okay, now let's make the another alpha glucose. This one will be HOH because we are making alpha glucose. Here also HOH will be there, and this is our C1 position. This is our C4 position. So what will happen? Water will be evolved and two molecules of alpha glucose will be joined together by glycosidic bond. So in this reaction, water molecule will be evolved and overall we will get I hope this is easy and you are understanding it. It's not that tough. All you need is a practice. Okay, so here you can see the bond is present between C1 and C4, right? So this is the glycosidic bond which has joined two alpha glucoses together. Now it's very easy to answer. This is our alpha glucose and this is also our alpha glucose. And if you want to write the glycosidic bond, we would be writing alpha because we have used alpha glucose. And the bond is present between C1, this one. Here that's why I have written 1 and it is going from 1 to 4. So this is our 4. This bracket will be closed. This is our alpha 1,4 glycosidic bond that has joined the two alpha glucoses together. So amylose contain N numerous units arranged with the help of alpha 1,4 glycosidic bond. Okay, so amylose is a polymer of alpha glucose and of course a linear chain will be formed. You cannot see any branching, right? So when N or numerous units of alpha glucose, they will join together, a linear structure will be formed that is known as amylose, right? Now we will see how amylopectin is formed. For that also we will be requiring alpha glucose only. Let's move on further. We will be making one here alpha glucose. This is our C6 and again we will be making one alpha glucose because less space is there on the above side, that's why I have made it a bit short. So this is our alpha glucose and this is also our alpha glucose. See here, this is our C1, this is our C6. The bond will be formed between what? The bond will be formed between the C1 and C6, because of which the two units will be joined together and overall this structure will be seen. Here H will be there, this will be O, this will be our CH2 and the remaining structure will stay as such. Okay, so two glucose units are joined together. Of course, a glycosidic bond is formed in between, but this glycosidic bond is present alpha because we have used alpha glucose and it is present between this one and this C6. That means it is alpha 1,2,6 glycosidic bond that will form the branch structure of the starch and this will form the subunit amylopectin. So if a question comes, which type of glycosidic bond is present in amylose, you will write alpha 1,4. If you are asked to write about amylopectin, you will write alpha 1,6 glycosidic bond. I hope you have understood this concept. If not, please do rewind and watch it again. Starch is a polymer of alpha glucose. Some units may attach linearly to give rise to amylose and other units may form branching pattern which will result in the formation of amylopectin. Starch is the product of photosynthesis and it gets stored in the leucoplast. And one thing more, starch always gives positive test with iodine solution. Okay, this is also being told in your NCERT. So if you take few pieces of potato in test tube, okay, suppose you have taken potato pieces in the test tube and you have added iodine solution to it, over a period of time, what will happen? Blue-black color will be noticed. Okay, blue-black color is a positive indicator that starch is present. If the component you have used and you have added iodine solution to it, the color does not turns to blue-black, that means starch is absent. So why does starch gives positive test with iodine? Starch, basically it's amylose part. It is linear, but sometimes it gets folded into a helical like structure. And in this helical structure, iodine gets incorporated, means it gets space to stay there. That's why starch gives positive test with iodine, whereas it does not give any positive test with cellulose because cellulose does not exist in the helical form. Okay, now let's move on to cellulose and discuss how cellulose is formed. For making cellulose, we would be requiring beta glucose, means we'll be requiring another enomer, and in this case it will be beta glucose. You remember that in the case of beta glucose, the hydroxyl bond is present above. Okay, so I am just making two beta glucoses to make you understand. This is C4. So this is C1 position. This one is C4 position. Here water molecule will move out and as a result two beta glucose units will be joining together. And as a result of what? Glycosidic bond will be formed. So if they are joining together, we will be making like this. This chapter requires the practice of all the structures that I have told you till now. Okay, so it's not that tough. All you require is a practice. So in cellulose, see, this slanting line is formed because of the bond between them. So if n number of units of beta glucose they will join, such slant structures will be noticed ahead also because numerous units will be joining together. So glycosidic bond in this case will be named as beta because we have used beta glucoses and the bond is present between 1 to 4. So this beta 1,4 glycosidic bond, it is present in the case of cellulose, whereas in the case of starch it was always alpha glucose, and branch structure was possible because of alpha 1,6 glycosidic bond. Linear structure was possible because of alpha 1,4 bond. Let's study reducing and non-reducing sugars as well. So in the reducing sugars, glucose comes, fructose comes, galactose is also a part of it, lactose and maltose also falls in this category. So reducing sugars are the ones which when react with oxidizing agent, I am writing here RS means reducing sugar. So reducing sugars, when they react with oxidizing agent, they undergo oxidation. So we just require a solution which acts as oxidizing agent, and its name is Fehling solution. So if you take Fehling solution and you add glucose to it, this is blue in color. Fehling solution is blue in color. Once you add glucose to it, its color changes to red. Okay. Change in the color from blue to red shows that glucose has undergone oxidation. So these examples are important to be learned: glucose, fructose, galactose, lactose, and maltose. Let me brief you for non-reducing sugars here only. Non-reducing sugars includes your sucrose, which is very important example, and it has been asked in the MCQs many number of times. Which of the following is non-reducing? So answer is sucrose only, right? Starch also comes in the category of non-reducing sugars. Cellulose also comes in this category. Glycogen also falls in this category. Means if you add Fehling solution and then you add these non-reducing sugars, the change in the color of Fehling solution will not happen. That means these sugars, they are not undergoing oxidation. So examples of reducing and non-reducing sugars are very important. I hope you have understood all the biomolecules. Just do mention in the comment box, was it easy for you to understand this way, or do you want me to teach with some change? I would be waiting for your comments, and your support will be extremely appreciated. Stay connected for the enzymic part. Thank you.